You know that moment when everything is quiet, the day is done, nothing bad happened, and you should be feeling peaceful? But instead, your mind starts showing you a movie. Tomorrow's conversation going wrong. The email you sent getting misinterpreted. Someone you love deciding to leave. The good news you just received turning out to be a mistake. And you're lying there in the dark watching this play out in vivid detail, as if watching it now will somehow protect you later. You can't turn it off. And the strangest part is, nothing is actually wrong. Everything is fine. But your brain acts like fine is just the setup for disaster. When you tell people about this, or even just admit it to yourself, the explanation comes quickly. You're overthinking. You're too negative. You're borrowing trouble. Maybe you've even searched for terms like catastrophic thinking or generalized anxiety, trying to find a name for what's wrong with you. And those labels land hard because they don't just describe a behavior. They describe a flaw, something broken in the way you're wired. You watch other people seem to enjoy good moments without scanning them for hidden threats, and you think, why can't I just be normal? But here's where the story starts to unravel. Think about what happens when something actually does go wrong, when a real crisis hits, when someone else is panicking, when bad news arrives, when things genuinely fall apart. You're not the one falling apart. You're strangely calm. You already ran the scenarios. You know exactly what to do next. While others are still processing the shock, you're already 3 steps into solving the problem. This doesn't look like a broken threat detection system. Someone with broken threat detection shouldn't be the most reliable person in the room when things get real. So, if you're so catastrophically pessimistic, why are you so good at handling catastrophes? What if the thing you've been calling pessimism isn't pessimism at all? What if it's a strategy, a very old one you learned a long time ago in an environment where being surprised was dangerous? Maybe you remember what that house felt like. You'd walk in the door after school and run a quick scan. What's the mood today? You learned to read footsteps, the tone of a greeting, the way a door closed. Because the difference between a warm evening and a dangerous one was invisible until it wasn't. And you learned to catch it before it shifted. People you depended on could be warm one moment and volatile the next. The rules kept changing and no one told you the new ones. You had to figure it out yourself every single day or pay the price for getting it wrong. So you built a system. If you could predict every possible way things could go wrong, you couldn't be blindsided. If you rehearsed the disaster in your head before it happened, you'd be ready when it came. You learned to see the cracks before anything shattered. And in that environment, this wasn't a disorder. It made perfect sense. You were building an early warning system because no one else was going to warn you. The problem is you don't live in that house anymore, but your brain never got the memo. The system you built is still running the old code, scanning for threats that aren't there, treating the absence of danger as suspicious. Because in the world it was built for, peace was just the moment before something went wrong. So now, when your life is calm, when things are actually going well, your threat detection system doesn't relax. It gets more active. It interprets the quiet as a glitch. It starts generating scenarios, trying to find the danger it sure must be hiding somewhere. This is why you can't turn it off. You're not dealing with a malfunction. You're dealing with a program running exactly as designed. And here's where it gets painful. Think about what this costs you, not in the abstract, but in the actual moments of your life. Your partner says, "We need to talk," and your chest tightens before they finish the sentence, even though they just want to discuss dinner plans. Your kid is laughing in the back seat, and instead of being there with them, you're calculating what could go wrong on the drive home. You're sitting in a meeting and you've already prepared responses to criticisms no one has made. The system is always running. It doesn't just steal your sleep, it steals your presence, the moments you can't get back, the the joy you don't fully feel because part of you is always standing guard. Now, contrast that with the strange calm you feel when things actually fall apart. The real crisis arrives and suddenly you're clear. Your pulse steadies, your mind organizes. The disaster you've been preparing for is finally here, and you are ready. This is not the profile of someone broken. This is the profile of someone who built an internal architecture to survive an unpredictable world, and did it so well that the architecture is still standing, still functioning, still protecting you. The tragedy isn't that you developed this system. The tragedy is that no one ever told you the war was over. So when you're lying awake tonight, running through tomorrow's disasters like a security guard doing rounds, hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not defective. You are someone who learned very early that the world was unpredictable and that the only way to survive was to stay ready. That system has a cost, a heavy one, but it was never a sign that something was wrong with you. It was a sign of how hard you were willing to work to keep yourself safe. The guard is not the enemy. The guard is exhausted and has never been told it's allowed to rest. You don't have to dismantle the whole system overnight. You don't have to force yourself into optimism, but you can start to notice it when it activates. When the movie starts playing, you can pause and say, "Oh, there it is. The old guard doing rounds again." You don't have to follow every alarm it sounds. You don't have to walk down every dark hallway it points to. You can just see it. Name it for what it is. A program that kept you alive, running in a world that no longer requires it. And maybe, when you're ready, you can say something to that part of yourself that you've never said before. Thank you for standing watch all those years when no one else was paying attention. Thank you for scanning every horizon, even when it cost you sleep, even when there was nothing to protect me from. You did your job, you did it well, and now you can rest. It's safe here, I promise. It's actually safe. If this felt like something you needed to hear, subscribe. There's more of this kind of seeing whenever you're ready for it.